You don't realize how loud my silence will feel until I stop speaking, and child, you are standing on the edge of that silence right now, the kind that doesn't echo, the kind that doesn't wait, the kind that doesn't bargain anymore. I've been patient far longer than the time you wasted, and now, this moment is not another motivational pause. This is your last lifeline shaking in your hands. I am commanding your soul to awaken from the numbness that rebellion disguised as independence, because you don't have cycles left to waste on disobedience you've dressed up as delay. You keep thinking you'll get one more sign, one more moment, one more night, but I am telling you this. The countdown has already begun, and I am not just knocking anymore. I'm breaking the door that separates you from the fire you didn't know was already burning beneath your feet. You've been staring at the wrong battles while your real war has been spiritual, unseen, and getting more dangerous by the second. What I just revealed to you isn't a poetic message. It's your exit route before your entire destiny is smothered by decisions made in confusion. There is a storm coming that no human system will prepare you for, no friend will rescue you from, no money will shield you from, and no strength will survive. I am the only way out, and that truth is not a metaphor anymore. It's the final headline, being written over your life before the window seals shut. When the silence falls, it won't feel like peace. It will feel like a void, and that void will be the evidence of how long I spoke and how long you ignored. This is not just your chance. This is the last minute of mercy screaming before consequence answers. I'm not offering you an ID. I'm offering you myself, and that offer will not extend past what your pride is trying to argue with right now. You've run from me because you feared what surrender would cost. But I tell you now, what you're about to lose if you hesitate is greater than anything I ever asked you to lay down. You are not being asked to understand. You are being told to respond. Delay is no longer an option. I command you, not because I'm angry, but because I love you too much to let you fall without a final cry. And this cry is wrapped in urgency, soaked in tears, filled with the power of redemption, and branded with my blood. Child, the countdown has started, and I am your only way out. Don't make me whisper it again. You have no idea what almost swallowed you whole, because I intercepted it before you could see it coming, before it could touch the places in you that were already too fragile to survive another hit. While you were debating whether I was still near, I was wrestling the very forces that had planned to write your ending prematurely. I blocked what would have devoured your mind. I disrupted what was inches from turning your joy into permanent sorrow. You saw inconvenience, but I was setting up your rescue while you were still attached to the danger. You questioned why doors were slamming, not knowing that what stood on the other side had poison dressed in promises. You called it rejection, but it was me shielding your future from ruin. What tried to take your life wasn't an accident. It was a calculated attempt to erase your calling before it could gain momentum. But I stepped in. I interrupted the descent. I placed myself between your destiny and your destruction, because even when you were careless with your choices, I remained careful with your purpose. You didn't feel me because you were numb, but I was never absent. I was standing in the way, bruised for what you refused to walk away from, bleeding for what you wouldn't let go of, battling in dimensions you don't even know how to pray about. Every spiritual attack that tried to bypass your defenses found my authority like a wall it could not breach. But hear me now. I did not rescue you just to watch you remain bound to the same pattern that nearly ended you. The shield has been active, but I won't keep it raised if you keep choosing chains over change. This is your window to understand that I didn't just save you. I replaced the verdict. I traded what was meant to bury you with a breakthrough so divine it will look like contradiction to everyone who thought it was over for you. But you must choose to walk through what I've opened. You must stop entertaining the familiar voices that tell you to wait, to doubt, to rethink what I've already made clear. There is no more room for double-mindedness. You're standing on the edge of either submission or collapse, and the path forward is screaming for your full surrender. I've brought you to the place where what almost happened will never be spoken of again, but only if you don't turn back. What's ahead of you is sacred, but it's not automatic. It requires a decision that silences every voice that competes with mine. I won't force you. I already fought for you. I won't beg you. I already bled for you. And now, I'm standing again. Not between destruction and deliverance, but between your will and mine. Choose wisely, because your delay now will not be met with the same silence as before. You've asked for clarity. I'm giving you collision. This moment will either mark your uprising or your unraveling. There is no middle ground left. What you do right now is going to echo through everything connected to your name. I've stepped in too many times for you to keep pretending the enemy almost winning was just coincidence. It was war, and I won it. But the victory becomes yours only when you decide that your loyalty belongs to me, not to what hurt you, not to what almost claimed you, not to what felt comfortable while it drained you. This is the line. I'm standing in it. You're standing at it. Now walk through, or everything I blocked will come back louder, because next time, I won't stand in the way unless I see your feet move in obedience. You thought your hesitation was harmless, but each time you paused, something unseen took another step closer to what belonged to you. Delay isn't neutral in the spirit. It's an invitation for interference, and you unknowingly signed too many of them with your silence, your second guesses, your misplaced loyalty to what was never from me. While you waited for certainty, the enemy capitalized on your indecision, whispering comfort into delay and deception into your discernment. You thought you were being cautious, but what you were really doing was allowing access to forces that only understand urgency, and they were faster than your fear. I watched as you made room for things I told you to reject, as you excused what should have been exposed, as you coddled what needed to be cast out. Every minute you tried to think it through was a minute stolen from your appointed momentum. I didn't call you to figure it out, I called you to trust me. And because you didn't move when I spoke the first time, you're now standing in a moment that looks like pressure but is really permission. To exit the delay, to cut off the decay, to step away from the slow death that wears the face of comfort. You are holding an escape clause in your spirit, and I wrote it in bold red ink long before this war intensified. I crafted it with the authority that no force can override, but you have to activate it, not admire it. You can't afford to stay stuck because you adjusted to the rhythm of survival. You've normalized spiritual warfare so much that you think the chaos is a sign to endure instead of a signal to depart. I'm not trying to stretch you anymore. I'm trying to remove you. And I don't mean casually. I mean urgently, instantly, violently severing every tether to the terrain that has drained your soul. You've made peace with your prison by calling it process. But I didn't place you there, your delay did. And now, I'm unlocking the exit. But it won't stay open while you negotiate with fear, or while you cling to explanations I never owed you in the first place. This is not the time to reminisce about what might have been. This is the time to redeem what still can be. If you keep looking back, you'll turn into the very thing you thought you escaped, a statue of potential, paralyzed by what should have been surrendered. I need your full attention, child. This is the clause I embedded into your chaos. This is the door that bypasses every detour the enemy tried to force on your path. You've prayed for rescue, and now you're standing at the release. But it will not wait while you entertain every voice that doubts whether it's real. It's real. It's when. It's now. But the expiration on this clause is not flexible. My mercy has no limit, but my strategies do. You missed windows before because you thought I would always wait. But now I'm showing you what it feels like to be at the threshold of final invitation. Not final love, that never ends, but final access, because what's ahead cannot afford the weight of what you refuse to leave behind. I've broken cycles, canceled patterns, rerouted disasters, but this clause is your move. I won't drag you through it. I'm offering you the terms. The moment you say yes with your entire soul, everything trying to hold you hostage will be silenced by my authority. But you must mean it this time. You must walk through with no backup plan. You must burn the bridge behind you so there's no return to the delay at almost cost you everything. I'm not rescuing you so you can repeat the same rhythms. I'm calling you out because the time to move is down to its final breath. You can't look away anymore, not when I've brought the very thing you tried to suppress right into your vision, undeniable and raw. The version of truth that you diluted to make yourself comfortable has now risen in full stature, and it bears my authority, not your adjustments. No more filters, no more excuses, no more hiding behind spiritual language to cover up rebellion. This truth doesn't need to shout. It just stands, unwavering, staring into the core of everything you've built on compromise. You tried to shape your journey around your emotions, but now my truth has taken the form of confrontation. And it's not here to negotiate. It's here to liberate you from the lies you accepted as part of your identity. You see, you thought you needed more time, more signs, more confirmations, but what you actually needed was the courage to face what I've been showing you all along. I've removed the shadows. I've exposed the systems. I've stripped away every layer that once helped you hide from what I'm now revealing. And the moment you saw it, your soul trembled, because deep down, you knew this was coming. You've danced around obedience, played with alignment, and flirted with purpose without ever truly surrendering. But now the hour has ripped open, and what stands before you is not just truth. It's me. I am the truth. I'm not the version you imagined when it was convenient. I'm the fire that refines, the sword that cuts, the voice that interrupts. And I'm standing here not to scare you, but to awaken you. Because what you refuse to look at in quiet moments is now blazing before you in undeniable clarity. This is your chance to stop editing what I've declared. You don't get to rewrite this revelation to fit your comfort zone. You either align, or you get left behind in the illusion you built to protect your pride. I will compete with your fantasy. I've come to reveal the foundation, and everything false is shaking under my feet. You can either fall on your face and receive freedom or keep standing in stubbornness and lose what I meant for glory. You thought I was distant when I was being patient. You thought I was delaying when I was actually giving you space to deal with yourself. But now, that space has narrowed. And this moment isn't gentle, it's surgical. I'm cutting the cords that connect you to false safety, and I'm doing it with my word. What you're facing is not the end of grace. It's the beginning of clarity. I want you free, but I will not force you. I want you aligned, but I will not plead. I've spoken. I've revealed. I've waited. And now I'm standing. Unmoved. Present. True. You can't pray your way around this. You must obey your way through it. You asked me to show you, and I have. You asked me to speak clearly, and I did. But now the question is, will you receive truth when it's not dressed in what you prefer? Will you follow me when I don't walk the route you had in mind? Will you say yes even when yes costs you your comfort, your circle, your control? Because this moment is holy. It's not emotional. It's eternal. And what you choose in the next breath determines more than a mood. It determines the manifestation of the purpose I buried deep inside you before time itself knew your name. This is your mirror, and I am your reflection, not the you shaped by fear, but the you I created before shame ever entered the story. And now, child, look at me. See me. Let truth enter. Let it wreck what needs to go. Let it break the boxes. Let it cut the lies. Because truth is not coming later. Truth is not waiting for your process. Truth is here, right now, and it bears my name. I didn't hide it in symbols or bury it in riddles. I proclaimed it with a force that should have rattled every foundation you built without me. This time, I didn't speak in soft nudges or quiet convictions. I shattered silence with warnings that echoed through your dreams, disrupted your comfort, and stirred you at inconvenient hours. I wasn't trying to be mysterious. I was trying to be unmistakable. Because I've seen how easily you tune out what doesn't fit your expectations. I've seen how you dismiss conviction when it interrupts your comfort. So I roared. I shook the stillness. I sent waves into your atmosphere, and yet, even then, You tried to explain it away. You told yourself it was coincidence, that it was just your imagination, that you'd wait for more confirmation. But I wasn't trying to confirm, I was commending. I was shifting the very air around your life, breaking patterns in your surroundings, shaking doors you weren't willing to open, and closing ones you kept forcing. I was loud for a reason, because I knew if I came to you softly again, you'd tuck it under another to-do list and call it not the right time. But child, it was the right time, you were just too distracted to discern it. So I roared. I stirred the storms not to harm you, but to jolt you out of your spiritual slumber. I broke through routine. I interrupted cycle. I allowed interruptions you prayed against because they were the only way to reroute you from the destruction you didn't even see was forming behind the curtain. And still, with all of that noise, you hesitated. You thought deliverance would come wrapped in comfort, but I wrapped it in urgency. You wanted me to whisper again, but I had to raise my voice because this time, the delay could have ended you. You thought I'd always show up quietly, like before, but this hour required the sound of war, the sound of heaven shaking the borders of hell that were encroaching on your territory. I wasn't loud for entertainment, I was loud for protection. I wasn't disruptive for drama. I was disruptive to roar out. Every thunderclap in your life lately was me drawing your attention back to the exit I handcrafted for your escape. But even now, you're still looking for another sign, when I've already written your way out in lightning across the sky of your chaos. You're still trying to weigh options when I've already removed all but one: obedience. You want me to speak in your language, but I've already spoken in mine, and it was loud enough to shake angels into movement. The truth is, you heard me. You just didn't like what I said. You felt me. You just weren't ready to let go of what I told you to walk away from. But I didn't thunder for no reason. I didn't shake your world to leave you confused. I did it because the enemy had been crafting a counterfeit calm around you, a quiet destruction, and I had to be louder than what was lulling you into spiritual sleep. So I thundered your deliverance. I screamed the way forward. I sent messengers. I sent dreams. I sent interruptions. I sent chaos that was mercy in disguise. And now here you are, at the crossroads where the sound of my voice is still ringing in the atmosphere. I won't whisper again, because I already shouted. I won't keep circling the same message, because I declared it loud enough to silence every excuse. Now the question is not, did you hear me? The question is, will you respond before the silence returns? The other comes next is a bit of both. This was the final shout before the shift. I have thundered. The path is open. Step before the sound fades. You didn't need another map. You needed movement. And now I'm not just offering you guidance. I'm ordering your escape. I've seen your heart cry for clarity, and I've watched you sit at the crossroads waiting for a perfect plan that requires no risk, no faith, and no sacrifice. But direction is no longer your need. Obedience is. I've made the path so obvious, so unmistakably marked with divine signs that to ignore it now would not be a mistake, it would be rebellion. This isn't about waiting on peace anymore. This is about choosing to move before everything collapses behind you. You've asked me to show you what to do, but now I'm telling you that the time for asking is over. I'm not consulting your fears. I'm not negotiating with your comfort zone. I'm commanding your next step because it is critical to your survival, to your purpose, and to everything tied to your name that hasn't even been revealed yet. There's a reason it feels heavy right now, because what's at stake is not light. You prayed for me to take over, and now that I have, you're hesitating at the tone of my voice. You're uncomfortable because I'm no longer entertaining the illusion that you're in control. I have taken the lead, and where I go, hesitation cannot follow. You don't get to sit down in indecision when heaven has already mobilized on your behalf. I've dispatched assistance. I've arranged divine intersections. I've moved obstacles you never even knew were planted by the enemy to delay you. And now I'm telling you to move, not because I need you to be perfect, but because I've already cleared what's ahead of you. You're still trying to feel ready, but readiness isn't a feeling, it's a response. And the longer you delay, the more ground you lose. You think this is about missing a moment, but it's deeper than that. This is about forfeiting the alignment I carefully orchestrated for you before time even touched your life. I didn't bring you this far to suggest a way out. I brought you here to command it. This isn't optional. I'm not suggesting or hinting. I am declaring. And I won't change the tone just to accommodate your preference for slow transitions. This is fast. This is sharp. This is final. If you knew what was about to collapse behind you, you wouldn't question my urgency. If you could see the warfare I stopped, the disasters I blocked, the trauma I canceled, you would run into this moment with full force. But because you don't see it, I'm demanding that you trust me anyway. You don't need to understand why I'm rushing you. You need to trust that my urgency is your rescue. You've cried out in desperation, but now that deliverance is in motion, your silence threatens to sabotage it. Do not miss this turn because you're still checking with people who weren't there when I chose you. Do not ignore my voice because it doesn't sound like what you imagined. I am not a concept to debate. I am a king who commands. And I'm commanding your exit from everything familiar that cannot hold what I'm about to pour. You want a gentle push, but I'm giving you a divine shove, because destiny doesn't wait for perfection. It only responds to surrender. I'm not asking you to figure it all out. I'm telling you to take the next step even when it feels like the ground beneath it hasn't formed yet. Faith will not feel safe. But I have never let you fall when you move at my word. And I will start now. To go. Don't overthink. Don't rehearse what could go wrong. Don't beg me for another confirmation. I've said it. I've cleared it. I've declared it. Now walk. And don't look back. You keep wondering where it all went, the years, the energy, the focus, the fire you once had. But child, it wasn't snatched from you by surprise. It was handed over piece by piece while you were too distracted to notice the transaction. You gave your strength to situations that couldn't carry you. You offered your loyalty to voices that were never sent to elevate you. You placed your trust in atmospheres that slowly drained your identity, and then called the emptiness part of the process. But I'm here to break the lie. What was lost was not the result of attack alone. It was the result of alignment with things that wore your attention thin while your spirit cried in silence. You were too focused on maintaining what looked good on the outside while your inner world was unraveling. You tried to sustain connections I never assigned, because you feared the loneliness that would come with obedience. But in protecting what never carried my breath, you forfeited the very moments that were meant to propel you into purpose. Don't say the enemy robbed you, when what really happened is you gave too much of yourself to what couldn't feed what I placed in you. The delay you felt didn't just arrive. It was built every time you stayed longer than I told you to. It was fed every time you silenced conviction in favor of comfort. It was extended every time you said maybe later when I was saying move now. And now you're feeling the weight of what never deserved your yes. You poured into people who only took. You showed up for assignments that never carried your anointing. You managed what you were supposed to leave. And in doing so, you didn't just waste hours, you lost alignment. But I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to awaken you. Because the time may be gone, but it's not unrecoverable. I am the restorer of moments that felt wasted. I am the God who redeems years that were mishandled. But first, I need you to stop calling what drained you divine. I need you to stop glamorizing the struggle that grew from your own resistance. You keep asking me to bless what I never built. You keep asking me to breathe on what I never touched. But I will not pour oil on idols. I will not empower dysfunction. I will not extend time to what has only produced torment. This is your hour of awakening. And it begins by realizing that what took your strength was something you gave permission to. That relationship that kept you anxious, you stayed. That routine that numbed your spirit, you chose it. That version of yourself that apologized for being chosen, you protected it. And now I'm telling you it ends here. Because you're not just losing time, you're mismanaging access. You're still trying to balance destiny with distractions, but I've drawn the line in the spirit. You can't stretch yourself between what depletes you and what I've destined for you. There is no more middle. The gray has turned black or white, and every second you stay in between is a second you trade your fire for fog. I'm not reminding you of this to punish. I'm revealing it to release. Because as soon as you acknowledge what you gave away, I'll begin returning what you thought was gone forever. Not in the same form, not through the same paths, but through a divine acceleration that only comes when you finally release what I never told you to hold. The truth is, you didn't lose your time. You planted it in barren ground. And now I'm calling you to uproot yourself from every unfruitful place and replant in the soil of surrender. Because the harvest isn't denied, it's simply been delayed by what you stayed connected to. Let go. Walk out. Reclaim what's left. Because I still have time to multiply what you thought was over. But only if you stop giving my breath to things I've already pronounced dead. What I destroyed was never meant to be mourned, it was meant to be forgotten. You didn't see the invisible snares that were wrapped around your next step. But I saw them, and I demolished them before they had a chance to tighten. I crushed what would have crippled your momentum and stripped away what was cloaked in favor but birthed in deception. The conversations that ended abruptly, the doors that refused to open, the friendships that suddenly felt foreign, none of it was coincidence. I intervened. I dismantled every setup designed to look like safety while preparing to suffocate you slowly. And I didn't ask your permission because had I waited for your understanding, you would have clung tighter to what was manufactured to keep you stuck. I broke things in silence, because exposing the trap too soon would have made you sentimental for something that was about to steal from you again. You keep asking, why did that connection fade? Why did that path close? But I'm telling you now, I severed it to save you. The enemy had planned your entanglement long before you recognized the pattern. But I went ahead of you. I disrupted the blueprint of bondage you didn't even know you were aligning with. But here's the danger. Not the trap I broke, but the temptation to return to what I already rescued you from. You're still reaching back with your thoughts. Still wondering if maybe you misunderstood. Still entertaining the idea that it wasn't that bad. But child, every glance backward risks rebuilding what I've just dismantled. The longer you stare at what I've buried, the louder it will seem to speak, not because it's alive, but because your focus is trying to resurrect it. You can't carry resurrection power and use it to revive what I killed to protect you. The escape wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional, spiritual. And you must not revisit what I've commanded you to release. If you look back, you invite confusion into clarity. If you revisit it, you reattach your destiny to decay. That path wasn't just unhealthy, it was unholy. It was robbing the vision I planted deep inside you. It was muting your discernment by coating lies with familiar smiles. It was masking spiritual warfare as emotional loyalty. But I saw beyond the mask. I heard the hidden agendas. I read the scripts written against you in secret places, and I interrupted them all with one word: enough. I didn't just break the trap, I removed its access to your future. But that removal only remains if you don't return out of nostalgia or fear. You don't need closure when I've given you confirmation. You don't need to explain your exit when I offered your escape. You don't need to grieve what I've already replaced in dimensions you haven't stepped into yet. Stop romanticizing what was poisonous. Stop dressing up bondage as belonging. You don't belong to what I've released you from. You don't owe loyalty to what was draining your oil. I've shattered the prison. Now don't keep walking around its ruins, trying to gather pieces to rebuild something that was always beneath the calling on your name. Looking back is not harmless, it's hazardous. It makes you double-minded. It splits your heart. It delays your journey. That's why I'm warning you again. Don't look back. You can remember the lesson, but don't relive the location. You can testify of the escape, but don't step into the memory as if it still holds value. I'm doing a new thing, and new cannot coexist with nostalgia for what nearly broke you. What's ahead requires your full attention. What's unfolding needs your undivided focus. I already fought what you didn't see. I already broke what was planning to bind you. But now, the next battle is not mine. It's yours. And it starts in the direction you choose to face. So let me make it clear. If you turn back, you will not find me there. I'm not in the ruins. I'm not in the regret. I'm ahead, calling, guiding, waiting. Move forward. And don't glance over your shoulder again. It's not loud, but it's lethal. It doesn't scream, but it suffocates. It disguises itself as something you can't let go of just yet. Something you need a little more time to process. Something you think you've got under control. But the truth is, it's bleeding you slowly, draining your strength, numbing your discernment, and dulling the sound of my voice. I never asked you to manage what I told you to release. You've been defending the very thing that's been dismantling your joy behind closed doors. It doesn't matter how good it looks on paper, or how long it's been in your life. If I did not plant it, it is choking your purpose. You're not keeping it safe, you're keeping yourself stuck. You've wrapped it in loyalty, but it's coated in poison. You've called it part of the journey, but it's a detour that's grown roots. I'm not asking you to heal it. I'm asking you to remove it. Because your soul cannot thrive in an environment you were meant to flee. It doesn't matter who approves of it. It doesn't matter how long you've known it. It doesn't matter what memories are attached to it. If I've told you it must go, then every second you delay is another second of self-inflicted spiritual erosion. You don't realize how much ground it's stolen while you've been trying to preserve its image. You don't see the silent erosion because you've grown used to the ache. You've mistaken heaviness for responsibility. But I didn't assign this burden. I'm exposing it. And now that the light has touched it, you cannot unknow what I've revealed. There is no more hiding and justification. You've been carrying something that's been subtracting from you, and because it hasn't exploded, you've excused it. But I don't wait for explosions. I warn in stillness. And right now, this is your final alert. What you are protecting is plotting your delay. What you are excusing is executing your time. And you're almost out of it. You've asked me to heal what you refuse to let go of. But I am not in the business of fixing what I never authored. I am not bound to repair what your fear invited. You need to stop asking me to bless your defense of dysfunction. Because this thing, this situation, this attachment, this compromise, it's not neutral. It's been working silently to weaken your spiritual structure so you can't carry what I'm about to release. And I love you too much to let you pretend it's harmless. I'm not negotiating with it, and I won't let you keep bargaining with what's bleeding you. Your future is suffocating under the weight of what you refuse to surrender. And I will not stand by while you water what is rooted in your ruin. You have 2 minutes. Not because I'm trying to pressure you, but because time has reached the tipping point. I'm not emotional about this. I'm surgical. I'm not sending opinions. I'm sending orders. And if you truly belong to me, you know the tone has changed. This is not a suggestion. This is your final chance to drop what's draining your destiny before you're dragged into another unnecessary cycle of consequences I tried to prevent. I've already made the way out. I've already cleared the exit. But you're still hugging the very thing that is waiting to betray you one more time. And this time, the wound will not just be emotional, it will be spiritual. I'm pleading with you not from weakness but from urgency. Your window is closing, and what waits on the other side of your obedience is something you can't afford to miss. I'm not here to watch you repeat what I died to free you from. So hear me. You've got a choice to make. In the next moment, either you let go of what's slowly killing your fire, or you hand over your freedom in exchange for familiarity. I can't force your hands open, but I can show you what's about to fall apart if you don't release what never belonged. Don't protect your poison. Drop it. Now. What you called peace was really a pause in chaos, not the presence of my promise. You labeled numbness as calm. You baptized your avoidance and called it wisdom. But what you were clinging to wasn't true rest. It was resignation disguised as control. I watched you convince yourself that just because it didn't hurt anymore, it must be healing. But pain isn't the only indicator that something is wrong. Sometimes what's most dangerous is what feels tolerable, because it lulls you into stillness while your soul is starving. You taught yourself to breathe inside a broken system, and now you think the silence you've curated is spiritual, when in fact it's suffocating your discernment. But I'm tearing the veil. I'm showing you that what you've been resting in was never me. It was a counterfeit comfort, a carefully crafted illusion meant to keep you dependent on false security. You don't need to medicate your peace with distractions anymore. I didn't call you to cope. I called you to conquer. I didn't bring you this far to watch you curl up in patterns that pretend to protect you. That imitation peace you've been holding onto has no foundation, no breath, no fire. It is hollow, and that's why it can't carry you into the next place. You tried to settle your spirit in temporary surroundings, thinking I would adjust to your lowered expectations. But I am not the god of compromise. I don't conform to your comfort zone. I approve what can to go with you. And right now, I'm shaking what you thought was stable to reveal that it was never secured in me. I didn't come to patch the false peace. I came to replace it. I'm introducing you to the kind of rest that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind of calm that lives even when the storm hasn't stopped. The kind of clarity that doesn't waver when opinions change. This is the real thing, and it will require you to release every imitation you've made into an idol. The way forward demands that you let go of every internal agreement you made with the idea that survival was enough. I never called you to survive through silence. I called you to stand in truth. But the lie you've been standing on is beginning to crack, and I let it. Because I won't let you build your life on what has no roots in me. I'm showing you that false peace keeps you busy, not bold. It teaches you to settle, not to soar. It teaches you to numb your prayer life instead of igniting it. And I'm pulling you out. Even if it means disrupting what you thought was finally working, I will not let you stay married to what keeps you beneath the power I placed in you. You were made for weightier things. You were destined for more than managed silence. I'm calling you into peace that doesn't perform, peace that doesn't pretend, peace that isn't fragile. You don't have to keep proving you're okay when I've already offered to be your strength. The trade is on the table, but you must hand me the illusion. Let go of the strategies you created to keep pain away. Let go of the compromises you called wisdom. Let go of the calm that required you to shrink your voice, dim your light, and silence your convictions. I'm not in that. I was never in that. But I am here now, standing in front of you with the fullness of my peace in my hands, waiting for your surrender. You don't need to understand it. You just need to take it. You don't need to explain your delay. You just need to move. And if you truly want what's real, if you're tired of barely feeling alive while pretending to be at rest, then this is your moment. I'm not competing with the imitation. I'm replacing it. But I won't force my peace into a space already occupied by the counterfeit. Jews. Now, the real thing is waiting. You misread the silence. You've misunderstood the delay. You assumed the closed door was my disapproval, but what you called punishment was actually me barricading danger with my own body. I didn't withhold to wound you, I withheld to shield you. There were things you wanted so desperately that had you received them, they would have shattered everything pure I've been cultivating within you. There were connections you cried over that I removed, because their presence would have infected the very call on your life. You didn't see the compromise ahead. You didn't hear the conversation spoken in rooms where your name was only mentioned for manipulation. But I did. I watched. I stepped in. I redirected. I blocked access. And I did it all without asking your permission because your destiny is too weighty to be gambled by your momentary emotions. I love you too much to let you walk blind into something that would have paralyzed your growth. What felt like rejection was really redirection. What looked like delay was actually divine disruption. But because you were looking through the lens of disappointment, you thought I was being harsh when I was actually being holy, preserving you in places where compromise almost entered undetected. I don't protect casually. I protect fiercely. And sometimes that protection looks like a silence that stretches longer than your patience. Sometimes it looks like the removal of people you thought were permanent. Sometimes it looks like me allowing plans to collapse just when you were ready to step in. But every no from me was a never in disguise, a never to destruction, a never to deceit, a never to decay. I am not punishing you. I am preparing you by pruning you. And pruning always feels like loss when you've grown attached to the branch I'm cutting. You've been grieving the shift, not realizing the shift was salvation. The very thing you thought was cruel was actually crafted with the kind of love that's willing to be misunderstood if it means preserving what's eternal in you. My love doesn't always feel soft. It doesn't always sound soothing. Sometimes it disrupts, divides, and dismantles. Because I'd rather break your expectation than watch you build a future on soil I didn't approve. You prayed for me to take control. I did. But my control doesn't always look like ease. It looks like war in the spirit realm that rearranges what you thought was settled. It looks like sudden exits. It looks like walls you can't climb and doors you can't kick down. But behind those barriers is not my absence, it's my covering. I stood between you and sabotage. I stood between you and the counterfeit. I stood between you and the trap that was dressed up as opportunity. You don't have to thank me now. But one day, you'll look back and realize that what I blocked saved you from losing yourself completely. I'm not just interested in your now, I'm preserving your next. I didn't let you attach to what was convenient because I saw what it would have cost you in the long run. This was never punishment. This was the fierce love of a father who guards what he anoints. You are not being punished. You are being protected. But now that I've cleared the way, you must move with the urgency that matches what I've preserved for you. Don't treat this like an optional moment. This is a holy interruption. This is me calling you out of mourning over what I've already removed. Let it go. What you lost wasn't yours. It was a distraction that learned how to blend in with your prayers. I stripped it because it didn't match your purpose. I'm not just protecting you from what's behind. I'm positioning you for what's ahead. And if you trust me through the discomfort, you'll realize this wasn't me turning away from you. This was me standing between you and a disaster you didn't even know was planned. My protection is still active, but your obedience must be, too. Time is not waiting. Neither am I. The moment you make a real decision to separate from what I never sanctioned, the accusations will come. The misunderstandings will multiply. The whispers will increase. They'll say you're acting strange, say you changed overnight, say you walked away too suddenly. But none of them saw what I pulled you from. None of them wrestled through the nights you spent drowning in confusion. None of them carried the weight of the spiritual warfare behind your silence. Let them talk. You don't owe explanations for obedience. You don't need permission to walk away from what was holding you hostage in plain sight. I already justified your exit in heaven. You don't need to validate it on earth. The same ones who tried to keep you bound will now accuse you of arrogance when you finally step into the boldness I planted in your spirit. But this is not pride, it's freedom. This is not rebellion, it's realignment. You don't owe anyone a watered-down version of your deliverance just to keep their comfort intact. What I've done in you is sacred. What I've revealed to you is holy. And what I'm asking from you now requires full separation, not partial distance. Because I didn't just call you out of the fire to admire the ashes. I called you to move forward with a flame that cannot be extinguished by opinions. They will say you're overreacting. They will say you've gone too far. But child, they didn't hear what I thundered into your spirit. They didn't feel the urgency I buried in your bones. They didn't watch your soul unravel while you smiled through torment. Let them say what they want. I call you delivered, not halfway healed, not temporarily fixed, fully free. And freedom always costs comfort. Deliverance always demands detachment. If you stay tethered to their applause, you'll never walk in the clarity I designed for you. I'm not training you to be popular. I'm preparing you to be prophetic. And the prophetic always sounds offensive to ears trained by culture. Don't shrink because their reactions shift. Don't retreat because their silence stings. If they abandon you after your yes to me, know this: they were never assigned to your real self. They were attached to your compromise. The version of you that tolerated what I never told you to accept. The version of you that kept peace by suppressing truth. The version of you that stayed quiet to stay included. That version had to die so the real you could breathe. You're not being dramatic, you're being delivered. And delivered people always seem dangerous to those still married to dysfunction. Your breakthrough will threaten their control. Your obedience will convict their comfort. But I didn't call you to make them feel safe. I called you to walk in purity, power, and purpose, even if it means walking alone. You will not fit in where compromise is celebrated. You will not be embraced where truth is offensive. But I will surround you with those who understand the cost, who know the sound of my urgency, who recognize the echo of obedience in your voice. But first, I need you to stand. Apologetically. I need you to stop explaining your yes like it's something to apologize for. I need you to walk forward like the chains really did break, because they did. And I need you to know that when the voices rise, when they call you unstable, when they say you're doing too much, that's the sound of confirmation. That's the sound of the enemy losing his grip. That's the evidence that you finally stepped outside the system he used to control you. Let them call you what they will. I call you chosen. I call you released. I call you mine. This moment isn't about their reaction. It's about your decision. You're not crazy. You're not impulsive. You're not overthinking. You're finally listening to the voice that never stopped speaking. And for the first time in a long time, you're responding. So let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them leave. They are not your anchor. I am. And I will never walk away from the one I just pulled out of the fire. You keep waiting for some complicated code to unlock the next step, but I've made it clearer than you realize. Your deliverance isn't buried under layers of guesswork. It's blazing in the very place you thought was too shattered to be holy. The answer you begged for has been present in every interruption, every sleepless night, every door that slammed without warning. It's not that I've been silent. It's that you've been searching for a rescue that looks polished, painless, and pretty. But I never promised neat. I promised real. And real deliverance always begins in the place you thought I abandoned. You keep trying to run from what broke you, but what broke you was the altar I chose to rewrite your life upon. I didn't hide your way out in a distant season. I etched it into the cracks of your current crisis. It's not in the next month, next year, or next chapter. It's in the rubble of what you just tried to survive. You don't have to climb higher to find me. You just have to stop ignoring the clarity embedded in your collapse. I met you at the point where you finally stopped pretending to be fine. I stepped in the second you dropped the script you'd been performing for everyone else. The moment your soul whispered, "I can't do this anymore," with the very second heaven roared, "Now I can begin." I do my greatest work in the aftermath, not the spotlight. So stop waiting for a cleaner stage. I'm not performing rescue. I'm commanding rebirth. And it begins with your surrender, not your strategy. You've been walking in circles trying to feel ready, but you missed the truth. I never needed your readiness. I needed your realness. I didn't ask you to come perfect. I asked you to come honest. And your honesty has opened something in the heavens. That place where you broke down. That's where I'm building from. That situation that nearly stole your breath. That's where I've buried a blueprint you haven't seen yet. But here's what you must understand. The longer you deny what that breaking was for, the longer you'll delay what I plan to birth from it. I've already drawn the map, and it's not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. Because what I've asked you to walk into requires you to walk away from everything that gave you identity outside of me. The pain revealed what needed to go. The pressure exposed what was never built on my word. And now I'm giving you the clearest sign of all. You're still breathing, and the exit is under your feet. You don't need more signs. You don't need more voices. You need to stop doubting the one who carried you through what tried to finish you. I placed the solution inside the storm. I engraved the direction into your confusion. And I didn't do it to test you, I did it to train you. Because you'll never learn to see my hand if you keep waiting for it to come through comfort. You're not lost. You're being led. Even when it doesn't feel like guidance. Even when all you have is my last word echoing through your exhaustion. That's where faith starts. And it's in that space, the space between your collapse and my command, that your real story begins. So no more pretending like you didn't hear me. No more asking me to make it easier when I've already made it obvious. I wrote the way out with fire, not feathers. I carved it into the very pain that brought you to your knees. That breaking was not random. It was revelation. It was sacred. And now that it's done its work, now that it's broken the false foundations and shattered the fragile supports, all that's left is me, calling your name from the center of the storm you thought would bury you. I'm not hiding your rescue. I've laid it bare across your brokenness. Step forward. The way out is not ahead. It's here. Right now. Beneath your feet. Written in the ashes. Etched in glory. There's no space left for second guessing. This isn't a gentle moment wrapped in options. This is a divine confrontation. One that demands a decision so immediate that even a heartbeat of hesitation could cost you more than you know. What I have prepared is not hanging in the distance. It's waiting in the now. But it can't remain where there's uncertainty. Breakthrough does not dwell in indecision. It waits for movement, and when movement doesn't come, it passes to the next surrendered soul ready to carry what you were too afraid to reach for. I'm not threatening you. I'm awakening you. Because you've cried too long for something you're now standing in front of. You fasted for it. You pleaded for it. You whispered in secret rooms for me to make a way. And now, I've done it. But the doorway is not going to sit open forever. It's not because I'm cruel. It's because what's on the other side of it is calibrated for this exact moment. I synchronized people, places, and timing, all for the delivery of what was promised over you before your first breath. This is not random. This is not emotional. This is eternal fulfillment knocking, and if you pause to negotiate your feelings again, you'll miss what I aligned angels to release. You keep asking for confirmation, but what you need is courage. Because this is not about figuring everything out. It's about following me with the kind of abandon that terrifies your flesh but liberates your spirit. I didn't just prepare the outcome. I prepared you. But hesitation will lie to you. It will dress itself as wisdom when it's really fear in disguise. It will ask you to wait just a little longer, think a little harder, pray a little more. But underneath those words is the strategy of delay working to dismantle destiny. You've lingered long enough in thought. You've looped through cycles of planning. And now, your obedience must be louder than your doubt. You will not walk into what's next while dragging the weight of indecision. Breakthrough comes where boldness lives. I am not waiting on your confidence. I'm waiting on your yes. The moment your feet match your faith, the doors will swing open, and what felt impossible for years will break in seconds. But make no mistake, the window for this movement is narrow. It was never meant to be held loosely. It's time-sensitive because the deliverance coming through it is layered with the lives of others who are attached to your obedience. This isn't just about you. This isn't just for your healing. This is generational alignment, legacy restoration, and kingdom release all converging into one divine collision. But that collision won't wait forever. And if you stand still now, what you once called my moment will become a memory instead of a miracle. You were made for this minute. And yet, This minute is only yours if you act within it. The danger of hesitation is that it feels innocent, but its cost is severe. One more delay and what I assigned for this hour will not be repeated. It's not about punishment. It's about timing. My glory is still yours. My presence is eternal. But this specific assignment is tied to a window that is about to close. Don't let your overthinking convince you you're being careful. You're being robbed. Don't let your feelings sabotage your future. You don't need full clarity to move. You need full trust. I didn't ask you to have all the answers. I ask you to believe the one who does. This is the moment you either step forward or step aside, because the weight of what's coming cannot be carried by the half-committed, and I will not force what should be willingly receive. If you hesitate now, you're not just delaying destiny, you're dismissing what I just handed you. Reach out. Step in. Seize what I just released. Or stand back and watch it pass into the hands of someone who didn't flinch when I called their name. You didn't realize how entangled you had become, not just with people or situations, but with the very thoughts and attachments that were eating away at your focus one compromise at a time. You were praying for clarity, but you were feeding confusion. You were asking me to come closer, but you were still entertaining every voice that competed with mine. So I turned up the pressure. Not to punish you, but to remove what you wouldn't walk away from voluntarily. The pressure you felt wasn't an attack, it was precision. It wasn't cruelty, it was consecration. I allowed the intensity not because I wanted you to suffer, but because I needed everything that could be shaken to fall off. And when you didn't listen to the quiet warnings, I turned the volume up. When subtle conviction didn't break the cycle, I permitted discomfort to do what peace could not, to dismantle what was slowly seducing your attention away from your assignment. You didn't see how much energy was leaking into things I never asked you to maintain. You kept holding on to connections that I had already closed in the spirit, nurturing distractions like they were responsibilities, defending patterns that had already expired. And when I whispered, you ignored me. When I nudged you, you paused. So I let the walls close in, not to destroy you, but to deliver you from the false stability you made an idol out of. You thought you were under attack, but you were under refinement. I had to apply pressure because ease had made you dull. You weren't praying like you used to. You weren't listening like you once did. You began to normalize a version of you that could function with minimal presence. And I love you too much to let you live in that shadow. I wanted the fire back in your bones, the hunger back in your soul, the urgency back in your steps. But to ignite it, I had to strip away the comforts that kept you sedated. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it felt relentless. But it was sacred. Because while you were focused on the external collapse, I was working on an internal awakening. A tightness you felt. It was me removing idols. A discomfort. It was me uprooting what you once called necessary but I called noise. You asked for elevation, but elevation requires elimination. You asked for overflow, but I will not pour into hands that are still gripping what should have been surrendered. So I brought the pressure. I let time run out on the things you were trying to stretch. I interrupted what you thought would last forever. And I did it quickly because time has become too precious. You are no longer in a season of gentle redirection. You are in a season of divine acceleration. And acceleration requires full capacity. I couldn't allow your energy to keep being siphoned by what was secretly stealing from you. I had to crush the comfort that was killing your calling. I had to expose the lies you learned to live with. The pressure purified you. It made you confront your priorities. It forced you to choose. And that choice, the one you kept delaying, is now being required in full. You cannot carry distraction and destiny in the same hands. I need your full attention now. No more divided heart. No more bargaining with comfort. No more waiting for a softer push. The pressure wasn't me leaving you. It was me leading you back to what matters. I never stepped away. I leaned in closer, deeper, more directly than ever before. And now that the distractions have shattered, now that the false layers have peeled back, now that the excuses have run dry, I am asking for your complete yes. Not the version with loopholes. Not the version that waits for consensus. The kind of yes that rises from the ashes of everything I burned away. This was never about what you lost. It was always about what I was making room for. The pressure was mercy. And now that you've felt it, don't go back to what dulled you. Run toward what refined you. You looked at the waiting as if it was rejection. You interpreted the silence as abandonment. You questioned my love when the timeline didn't bend to your expectations. But I never withheld what was yours. I was constructing a route that required your transformation, not just your desire. You thought I was saying no, when I was actually saying not yet, because you're not ready to carry what I'm about to release. You kept pacing back and forth, assuming I'd forgotten. But what you couldn't see was how many layers I was protecting you from, how many premature entrances I blocked because they would have crushed you with their weight. I don't give you destiny without first designing you to handle it. And what you called wasted time was me rearranging entire atmospheres to make sure that when you stepped into the next season, it wouldn't collapse underneath your character. You saw doors remain shut, but I saw an identity still under construction. I saw pride still hiding beneath performance. I saw fear still lingering behind decisions dressed up as discernment. And so I waited. Not because I wanted to punish you, but because I wanted to preserve you. And I knew that if I gave it to you too soon, it would become a burden instead of a blessing. You would have settled into a version of success that looked good to others but was quietly destroying your soul. So I delayed. And in that delay, I was deepening your roots. I was stripping away false dependencies. I was allowing discomfort to sharpen your discernment. Because the path I've called you to can't be walked by someone who's still asking for approval from the very voices I've removed. You've outgrown the space where you used to fit, but until now, you kept trying to shrink back into it. That's why the delay felt heavy, not because I wasn't working, but because I was waiting for you to outgrow what was never meant to contain your purpose. And now that the stretching has done its work, now that you're no longer looking to the old for validation, I'm opening what I've been preparing. But don't let bitterness distort the blessing. Don't let impatience blind you to the beauty of what I finally finished building. Just because it took longer than you expected doesn't mean it's any less miraculous. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. And now, as the path reveals itself, I need you to walk with boldness. Not arrogance, but confidence rooted in the truth that I never stopped moving. Even when you couldn't track me, I was tracing every step, every detour, every tear-soaked night and buried prayer. I folded them into the blueprint. Nothing was wasted, not even your doubt, because I used it to expose the places where you were leaning on your own logic instead of my leading. Every delay had divine fingerprints on it. Every closed opportunity was marked with a redirection stamped from heaven. And now that the appointed time has come, hesitation cannot follow you forward. This is not the hour to question whether it's real. This is the moment to embrace that I was real the whole time, even when the path was hidden. Especially then. So walked, not with the limp of regret, but with the stride of someone who's been kept for such a time as this. The delay wasn't denial, it was development. The path didn't vanish. It was waiting for your surrender to become strong enough to walk it. And now, here it is. Open. Glowing. Waiting for your yes. But don't glance over your shoulder anymore. Don't bring old timelines into a new territory. What's ahead will not resemble what came before. And that's the proof it's me. I do not recycle destiny, I resurrect it. And I'm calling you to step into what I never denied, only delayed, until you were ready to carry it with the humility and fire it requires. There is still time, but not like before. This is not the kind of time that stretches. It's the kind that snaps shut when it's ignored. You've spent too many seasons assuming that windows stay open forever, that opportunities repeat on an endless loop, that mercy is a license to postpone obedience. But this isn't one of those moments. This is the door I held open longer than you realize. A door that's held back what should have already fallen. A door I've kept unlocked with my own hand while you wrestled between your preferences and my instruction. And now the door is creaking. Not out of weakness, but because the hinge of divine timing is preparing to move. This door is not just symbolic. It is literal in the spirit. On the other side of it is access you've cried for, clarity you've begged me to reveal, release from systems that have kept your soul in silent captivity. But the door will not wait while you finish negotiating with what can't come with you. You are not too late, yet. But the yet is fragile. You feel it in your chest. You feel it when you try to sleep. You feel it every time you pretend you didn't hear me. And that feeling is the final alert that the threshold is here. I haven't closed it, I've kept it wide. But your hesitation is not neutral. Every second you stare instead of step, you're gambling with what I aligned with precision. The convergence you're standing in is rare. It's not emotional hype, it's eternal consequence. And I didn't bring you to this threshold to watch you admire it. I brought you here to walk through, knowing full well that everything behind you will never be the same.